Great lyrics often engage their listener because of the pictures that they paint. I was working part-time in a 5 and dime. My boss was Mr. McGee. That's Prince. Belief is a beautiful armor but makes for the heaviest sword. That's John Mayer. I took a walk in the city to clear my head for a moment, turned my collar to the wind. On the street, it was blowing. That's Casey Musgraves. This kind of lyric writing shows instead of tells something, and the effect pulls on our emotions. And so picture writing in our lyrics has the ability to engulf the listener in the world of the song, making the characters feel really vivid and believable. We see the man struggling in Jason Isbell's Speed Trap Town with, it's a Thursday night, but there's a high school game. Sneak a bottle up the bleachers and forget my name. We feel the anxiety of Halsey's, you lock the door, you're drunk at the steering wheel. Instead of just saying, I'm happy, Pharrell Williams says, I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. Now, I know he's not literally rising up into the atmosphere. And so some picture writing is literal while some is figurative. And you might find, depending on your music and your personality, that you actually lean more towards one or the other. Now, the trick to figuring out where we sit best as lyric writers is to understand who we are as artists, and that can help us decide which kind of language is more comfortable for us and aligns best with our musical expression so that we can do some exercises to coax more of that kind of language out. Picture language in our lyrics falls into 2 categories, imagery or detail. Now, detail leans literal. It gives the facts or sets the scene. Artists who are grounded and tell stories through a setting of time and place do really well with detailed language. It's 2-dimensional, it's not overly complicated, and it doesn't infer different kinds of meaning. Let me give you an example. She's a good girl, loves her mama, loves Jesus, and America too. She's a good girl who's crazy about Elvis, loves horses, and her boyfriend too. So in this song, her boyfriend's just a boyfriend. A horse is a horse. Jesus is Jesus. The song goes on to say, it's a long day living in Reseda. There's a freeway running through the yard, and there really is. A detail doesn't call for a lot of interpretation. It's rarely cheesy. It is what it is. If you are more literal in your writing nature, then you're in really good company. A lot of great songs over all styles have been written with this kind of detailed language. But what's really interesting is how detail-oriented lyric writing actually shares a piece of our personalities that comes through in our musical artistry too. Now you might notice that, like Tom Petty, your chord progressions are simple and strong, not a lot of nuance or sophistication or complexity. Sting, you're out. Sorry. Green Day, you're in. So that same personality that comes through in your detailed lyric writing that is both factual and direct comes through in your music that is also basic, factual, direct, bare, grounded, and beautiful. Now, I said that there were 2 categories of the kind of wording that we use in our lyrics, and the other category is imagery. Imagery, when you lean this way, sounds like this. Send in your skeletons, sing as their bones go marching in again. They need you buried deep. Foo Fighters. Now, imagery uses pictures as symbols. They're highly interpretive, and they can even change meaning with us as we evolve and grow over time. From Joni Mitchell to Halsey, imagery is what appears to us as abstract, esoteric, metaphorical, is what we mean when we say something is poetic. Now, the trick to practicing writing great lyrics is to push those 2 types of language to their extremes in the songs that you write. In this way, you can feel the difference between those 2 types of language instead of being caught in kind of a middle ground where the songs that we write kind of half evoke emotion or create something a little bland for the listener that they don't really respond to. I want to use 3 different artists' songs to show you how they use highly detailed language to very metaphorical, abstract imagery language to share their unique personalities as artists. And then I'm going to give you a few exercises to practice so you can understand where you sit on that spectrum from very detailed to imagery provocative and discern what changes you might need to make your songs stronger. Let's start on the highly detailed side. We've got Kristofferson, Sunday Morning Coming Down. It goes like this. I woke up Sunday morning with no way to hold my head that didn't hurt. And the beer I had for breakfast wasn't bad, so I had one more for dessert. This has a sense of time and place. It's grounded. He's talking to me like it's ordinary, every day. He's not shrouding his language in any kind of metaphor or abstractions that I have to read into to understand. Now, to practice this kind of language, be direct. Set the scene with who, when, and where. For 2 weeks, take 10 minutes each day and practice describing a scene. It could be something mundane, like taking a shower or getting dressed or taking the dog for a walk or waiting to pick your kids up from school. Whatever the scene, you're going to use your senses to describe what's going on around you, what you smell, taste, touch, see, hear, and observe move. Through these descriptions, you'll be able to set the scene, like the writers do in a very detailed lyric. The goal is to stay conversational and grounded, factual. Now, this is not the concept of the song. The thing you're actually talking about is the concept that makes the song have meaning. The scene is just the backdrop for the song to take on meaning. If your music is organic, acoustic, gritty, could be described as storytelling or grounded in character, you can use these scenes to build a song on top of. Now, in the middle of the spectrum is something like Jason Isbell's songs that she sang in the shower. It's more metaphorical in nature, and there's some sense of time and place, but it's a little bit abstract. And that can sound a little like this. On a lark, on a whim, I said there's two kinds of men in this world, and you're neither of them. And his fist cut the smoke, and I had an eighth of a second to wonder if he got the joke. And in the car, headed home, she asked if I had considered the prospect of living alone. And with a stake held to my eye, I had to summon the confidence needed to hear her goodbye. Now, this kind of writing involves a little more imagery mixed in with the same kind of character that Kris Kristofferson is, who's real, just an ordinary guy we can relate to. Now, to practice this kind of writing, you're going to need to get comfortable creating metaphor. A great exercise to do this is to make a list of nouns, a list of verbs, and a list of adjectives. And what you do is you collide those ideas together so that you've got some nouns that are both something tangible and other nouns that are intangible. Let me give you an example. If I say something like popcorn kisses, I've now collided two ideas together that don't normally belong together. Popcorn is a tangible noun. Kisses are an intangible noun. And so popcorn kisses come together to create something interesting. Now I could try colliding other words, like a verb with a noun, like tethered words. Words are not tangible, they're just an idea. And so when you combine tethered words, it makes those words feel like they're being held back by something. And I get that because of the feeling, and maybe get a little bit of an image along with it. To take this a step further, you can even make sentences out of those words you've collided together. So taking tethered words, I could write a scene now. You leaned against the counter, your tethered words coming an inch a minute, and I realized that our relationship is on the rocks. Now, doing a little bit of descriptive writing here means that I'm taking from both the word tethered and the word words, and I'm using both of those to give me ideas about what I might write about. This kind of language will bend more towards metaphor than it will detail, and you'll find that it puts you beautifully in the middle, like a Jason Isbell style of writing. Now, on the far end of the spectrum towards imagery is a song like Fake Plastic Trees by Radiohead. This is a style of writing where a lot of rock, pop, electronic, metal resides. In this kind of writing, the imagery is more of a feeling, and it might give us a collage of pictures in our mind, but the character is not necessarily set in any time or space while we're listening. And it might sound a little bit like this. A green plastic watering can for a fake Chinese rubber plant, and the fake plastic earth that she bought from a rubber man. town full of rubber plants to get rid of itself. And where's her out? And where's her out? And where's her out? And where's her out? Now, if this style of lyric writing really appeals to you, then some of the challenges that you might be experiencing is to create an authentic believability in your lyrics rather than sounding cheesy or poetic for the sake of being poetic. The listener can spot when we're trying too hard to be intellectual or deep, so it's really important that we maintain an honesty in our lyrics. One great way to do that is to keep our lines short. Avoid adding any excessive adjectives or descriptive language. Another thing that we can do is to connect our lyric lines with prepositions, conjunctions. In other words, write like you speak. Don't have so many fragments to your lyric writing that we have to put the lyric back together again as the listener just to make sense of it. Another thing that you can do is try to build off of one image in your lyrics rather than multiple images that are unrelated. So instead of going from fake plastic trees to mentioning BMWs to mentioning carnival rides, you would stick with fake plastic trees and make associations off of the words that contains. So you could write a whole list of words associated with fake and with plastic. Now maybe trees as well, if that generates some nouns, verbs, and adjectives that are useful to you in that context. For 10 minutes a day, try choosing an object like abandoned car and then making a list of associations with that. I could say rust, bumper, windshield, cracked, stressed, stained, hubcap. All of these things might have something to do with this car and become the basis for metaphor for writing my lyric. I hope that by understanding your options with picture language, you can better identify what kind of an artist and writer you are, how it correlates to the music you're making underneath, and ways in which you can feel more confident as a writer putting yourself out there in your songs. If you found this video helpful, please like it and please subscribe to this channel. Visit my website where I've got a lot of tools and resources for songwriters and a community there who would be delighted to have you and help you along on your songwriting journey.